if I am paying for a streaming service, I want to know that that service is actually worth my pennies before I hand them over. I have been a consistent subscriber to Shudder since I got my channel 2.5 years ago, and even before I started my channel, so let's just say I have seen quite a few things that Shudder has to offer. But there is a good reason as to why I continue to hand my pennies over to Shudder every month, and that is because if you like horror from all around the world, there are 2 streaming services that are gonna give this to you: Shudder and Netflix. And every single one of the 8 movies that I have picked to recommend to you today all happen to be from 8 completely different countries. If you're new here, I'm Hannah, but I go by Hordes online, and I am the head of the Horde here on my channel, Hordes of Horror. And if you're not new, welcome back. I talk about horror movies here on my channel on Mondays and Fridays. So if that sounds like something you might be interested in, maybe hit that subscribe button if you're feeling generous, or if you're feeling extra generous, maybe like the video as well, because it does massively help me out. So without further ado, here are 8 movies that you absolutely need to watch on Shudder. Coldfish from 2010 is a Japanese crime horror drama. When Sayamoto's teenage daughter is caught stealing, a generous middle-aged man helps resolve the situation. The man and his wife offer to have Sayamoto's troublesome daughter work at their fish store. Sayamoto, though, soon discovers the horrific truth behind the seemingly perfect couple. One of my favourite types of horror to talk about here on my channel is horror that is actually based on real events. And yes, Coldfish is actually inspired by a real serial killer couple from 1993 over in Japan, who were a dog breeder and pet shop couple who were known for making troublesome clients disappear and have at least 4 murders on record. Is Coldfish a fun watch? Oh, absolutely not. This is definitely one of those harder to watch movies, but I would absolutely say to anybody that this is an absolute must watch for any horror fan. This is gritty, it is uncomfortable to watch, and knowing that this is actually inspired by real events makes it even more horrific when you see things start to unfold and spiral throughout this movie's plot.
You guys are in a crisis. I'm on my way.
To put it nicely, Coldfish certainly is a no-holds-barred kind of horror movie, especially if you like your horror on the more realistic side. NumNomMonsters from 2017 is a Taiwanese supernatural horror comedy. When a group of teenagers must spend their day in detention, they stumble upon a flesh-eating ghoul. Instead of running away, they play a game and challenge each other to capture the monster. But when the younger ghoul is captured, her older sibling will stop at nothing to get her back. If you enjoy gory, supernatural movies, then you will probably enjoy NumNomMonsters, because this has one feral ghoul lady in it who will stop at absolutely nothing to retrieve her sibling, who is being held captive by 4 teenage boys and 1 teenage girl who is there because, you know, boys are there. This movie is not a comedy. I will first of all go on record and say, do not go into this one expecting a happy good time, because it is not. It is incredibly hard to watch at times, but it's also a little bit satisfying knowing that the 4 kids that are holding this girl's sister hostage are all bullies and absolutely deserve everything that is coming to them, because this group are vile. This is an incredibly difficult watch at times because it deals with the whole concept of just how cruel humans can be to each other and what happens when they think that there is no consequence for this. You watch as characters who start off with sympathy and empathy grapple with this and slowly lose this within themselves, and by the end of it you are questioning just exactly who is the real monster in this scenario, the ghoul and her sister, or the 4 kids who are punishing this poor kid for absolutely no reason whatsoever than they feel like they're entitled to.
Stop it. Get some help.
Just know that this movie is incredibly dark at times, and it certainly does not hold back when it comes to its violence. The Power from 2021 is a British supernatural horror. In 1974, a young nurse is forced to work the night shift in a crumbling London hospital as striking miners switch off the power across Britain. Inside the walls lurks a terrifying presence that threatens to consume her and everyone around her. I watched this one on a long-haul overnight flight back to the UK, and all I can say is this is a movie that absolutely benefits from watching it in a darkened room. Close your curtains, grab yourself a snack, and curl up on your couch with a blanket for this one, because this one happens to take place during the real British miners' strikes.
Good heavens.
The Power is a real-life kind of horror movie, we'll say, where some of the things that happen in this movie can and do really happen in real life. Then it's mixed with a supernatural element and a ghost story at the same time, while being set in a 1970s London hospital, because hospitals are already creepy as you like. Throw in the fact that at any point they could be plunged into complete darkness, and this adds a whole nother level of creepy on top of everything else. Vicious Fun from 2020 is a Canadian horror comedy. Joel, a callous 1980s film critic for a national horror magazine, finds himself unwittingly trapped in a self-help group for serial killers. With no other choice, Joel attempts to blend in or risks becoming their next victim. We all think that we could survive a horror movie simply based on the amount of horror trivia that we have. But Vicious Fun is what happens when you actually have to use that knowledge of horror to keep yourself alive when you accidentally stumble across a self-help group for serial killers and have to convince them that you are in fact one of them and can absolutely relate and understand to everything that they have and continue to do on a daily basis. Vicious Fun is certainly on the quirkier side of horror comedy, with each one of the serial killers within this self-help group being slightly larger than life in their personas and each having their own unique set of skills that they bring to the table. If you have seen Seed of Chucky, this is the self-help group that Tiffany should have ended up joining, because are they going to stop each other from killing other people on a daily basis? Absolutely not. But are they going to make you feel better about your choices? Oh yeah, they are.
I am bad, and that's good.
Plus, it has got a great synthwave soundtrack and so many neon lights, which is never going to be a bad thing in a movie set in the 1980s. Gongjm Haunted Asylum from 2018 is a South Korean supernatural found footage horror. A crew of an online horror show decide to go to an infamous asylum and stream what is inside to gain more viewers. Things take an unexpected turn though when they begin to experience more than they could have ever imagined possible. I am not a found footage girly. I can actually name you 4 found footage movies that I have ever seen that I actually enjoy. And Gongjm Haunted Asylum happens to be one of those, because this movie genuinely gives me the creeps at times. If you have seen this, the hour and 10-minute mark, absolutely not, you would be having kittens.
Hey there, demons, it's me, your boy.
I often describe myself as a skeptic who would like to believe, but there is so much fake paranormal stuff out there that I would want actual real evidence to be witnessed by myself in order to make me believe. And if I was in this situation, I guarantee you that I would never believe in my house again. My front door would look like the door in Silent Hill 4 The Room, and you would be bathing in nothing but holy water, because Jesus Christ, the supernatural stuff that they have put into this movie is great and will absolutely get under your skin. Even more so when you realise that this movie is actually based on a real asylum that stood in South Korea until 2018 when it was demolished. This asylum was considered to be one of the most haunted places in the whole of Korea, and even appeared on the 7 freakiest places in the world's list from CNN, which is actually mentioned within this movie. So yes, this asylum was in fact very, very real. Oddity from 2024 is an Irish supernatural horror thriller. After Danny is brutally murdered in her newly acquired country home that she is renovating with husband Ted, everyone suspects a patient from the local mental health institution where Ted is a doctor. A year later, Danny's blind twin Darcy, a self-proclaimed psychic, pays an unexpected visit to Ted and new girlfriend Yana, convinced that there is more to her sister's murder, and she has brought her most dangerous items from her cursed collection to help her extract revenge. This movie will have you walking around your house for a few days with the lights on, just in case someone screams at you from the shadows and you need to make a quick getaway. Twins are inherently creepy already in horror. Make one of them dead and the other one a blind psychic who turns up with a mummified woman in a box, and you will either find yourself wishing for or being grateful that you are indeed an only child.
Oh, thank God.
It is genuinely unnerving at times, this movie, but in the best way. I know that many of us, if we lost a family member, would want as many answers as possible to what happened to them, and I can appreciate that Darcy, our blind psychic twin, is prepared to go to some unconventional places to get those answers at whatever cost it's going to take. She walks into her ex-brother-in-law's house, just wheeling in a mummified mummy in a box, like some people would give somebody a houseplant. The Coffee Table from 2022 is a Spanish black comedy horror. Jesus and Maria are a couple going through a difficult time in their relationship. Nevertheless, they have just become parents. To shape their new life, they decide to buy a new coffee table, a decision that will forever change their existence. First off, it's not about a haunted coffee table. When I say that this is a black comedy, I mean that this is pitch black at times, to the point where you'll either find yourself laughing at some of the jokes that get thrown in to ease some of the tension and the anxiety throughout, or you'll question how the hell this was even considered to be a comedy in the first place. It's A or B. This is a slow burn movie to begin with, as this movie pulls you in with both hands, building in this tension and anxiety as you watch our panic-fueled protagonist deal with the aftermaths of a devastating event that will leave you absolutely reeling for the entire experience as a viewer. This is very, very real in its horror. Like, this is the type of horror where it could happen to somebody, it will happen to someone, unfortunately, and I know that a lot of people will find themselves squirming with the amount of anxiety that this movie continues to build up over its hour and 29-minute runtime. This is certainly not a comfortable watch, and if you've seen Coldfish that I mentioned on this list, it will rival Coldfish in how uncomfortable that this movie will make you feel. The soundtrack in this, though, also does an incredible job of building up tension and keeping you feeling in this heightened state, which is gonna leave you, as a viewer, with so many thoughts and feelings once you finish watching this. This was one of my most recent watches, and I had to actually go away and think about this one before I could put a rating on it, because it leaves a mark. Tigers Are Not Afraid from 2017 is a Mexican fantasy crime horror. When a girl's mother disappears, leaving her on her own, she turns to a group of orphaned children. Armed with 3 magical wishes, they must run from the ghosts that haunt them and the cartel that murdered their parents in a tragic chain of events. It is very rare that I am left completely speechless after watching a movie. I don't even think that I need all the fingers on one hand to talk about the number of times that this has happened. But I can say in all honesty that that is how I felt when I watched Tigers Are Not Afraid. And if you haven't seen this movie, put this on your watch list, because it is one of the best horror movies that I have ever seen. This story is a very real and gritty plot about 5 children who are orphaned because of the Mexican cartel and an ongoing drug war, just trying to survive on the streets of Mexico in a world of adults who are completely blinded to anything outside of the cartel. Mixed in with this is the most amazing magical realism element that follows these kids. I always say that it is incredibly brave to entrust your movie to child actors because they are either gonna absolutely knock it out the ballpark or it is gonna fall flat. And this is the best performance I have ever seen from children in a movie. Hands down, nothing even comes close to the performances that these 5 kids give in this movie. I'm not going to say much more about this one. It's one of those movies where I think go in with it, knowing the bare bones minimum at the most, and just go with it. I very, very rarely give out 5-star reviews for things. My 5 stars are few and far between, and this is absolutely deserving of a 5-star review. So there you have it, the 8 horror movies that I think that you need to go and watch over on Shudder. And if you have any movies that you can think of that are on Shudder that other people should watch, drop them in the comments section down below and we'll get a great big list compiled down there so people know actually what to go and watch while spending their pennies on this subscription service. If you would like to know where else you can find me, I am also over on Instagram and Letterboxd at HordesOfHorror, where I post every single horror movie that I watch, not just the ones that I talk about here on YouTube. But speaking of YouTube, I'll be back on Monday with another solo movie review, and this time it is the movie from the picks that I wanted to watch over summer that absolutely everybody seemed excited for me to finally watch, and I am finally watching The Summer of '84, which, yes, is inspired by the Children on the Milk Carton campaign. So until next time, bye. A special thank you though to my regenerators here within the Horde for their support over on Patreon.